I guess we maxed that out.
Phone off here. So in here, in this, let's see, routes in conduit, this isn't functioning as I would like it to.
It should show you those in that grid.
Typically, we have a routes in conduit, and this would actually show PTC route number with the count data. This is just a reference to that other ID, and it would show all of that in there. So hopefully, I know our Interdux one used to work, and hopefully it still does.
Can we find a record that maybe just find one that...
You know what, I can probably do that here. Well, you know what, let me build this one and I'll show you the Interdux one if that actually works. Because if it doesn't work with one that I build, it's not going to work with our existing ones. One way I will be able to tell then what's associated is I've got the conduit ID pulled up over here. And then over here we can actually see related conduit, related junction, related missed facilities, and related route. If I were to click on that related route, it automatically pulls up the route ID that should be associated.
So it is related.
It's working, it's related, but for some reason that subfield right there isn't showing it in there. And you can hop back and forth, related conduit, and it'll pop back up. If there were multiple routes within a piece of conduit, when I click, you know, if I've got the conduit selected,
sure, it'll give you multiple records.
Down here, it gives you multiple records, which is pretty self-explanatory. So I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see, just build another one here, and let me build a junction here. Name image1. This will be 36 by 60. This is a test work order. This is an existing 2014. And this is a 36-inch deep manhole. And again, I pre-placed some of these blocks in here, which doesn't really help because as soon as you go in here and create, it places another block.
So there's no way to do it with an existing...
You know, actually, I lied. You can do a link to an existing object in here. And again, that's just me having not done this for a while.
Okay.
So, and I do believe you can... I think you can link the routes as well, but I don't think it inherits the to from when you do the linking that way. If you build the route records, the line work, I think it's best to do, pick the junction and junction to build the to from.
Start and
exactly.
Where you end.
Whereas if you pick a route itself, an existing polyline that's in there, I don't think it grabs the endpoints to build the to froms in automatically.
Okay.
And that would
Something
be heavily
we would
dependent.
Need to do, huh?
And as you asked earlier, how detailed is our line work there? If it's on the grip, and that that could be something that could be messed up if that were an option to pick an existing polyline to build a route record on. If we weren't that accurate and didn't have it on that grip, the software wouldn't know anyway. We would have to look at it and verify if it's in there.
Well, we could build in somewhat of a fudge factor into that.
Yeah, and typically we're not going to have junction records within a foot
of another junction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that would be great to have that functionality in there. And it looks as though... Oh, okay, it's an autosave. I was going to say, it looks as though I crashed AutoCAD. The auto crash feature. So I've got a manhole in there, and I guess I didn't really need to build another junction at the end of it. I'll build something in real quick for fiber and conduit. I'll do it between the CO and this thing.
Okay.
And this thing is just crawling right now, because I picked that... Okay, I was waiting to see our
So
records. So I show that it's a junction.
Yeah,
and
still.
this, it's anything like I said where the cable is would be a junction. So I've got my junction record in there. I'll go ahead and get rid of that just for clarity. I'll work with this conduit record here. So we'll say we have a 2-inch. I'll just leave that in there just because it doesn't really matter here. Again, you pick your from junction. And you wait 5 minutes for AutoCAD and the database to catch up.
Yikes.
This is actually very typical when using these tools in here. It works great for the first hour or so. And as the day progresses, tools just get bogged down and bogged down and bogged down. And eventually you're sitting there waiting 5 minutes for a label to pop up.
Huh, that's weird.
And I don't know whether that's an issue with our database or AutoCAD or their tools that are referenced or linked to AutoCAD or what. But again, I mean, I pick the junction record and I sit here and wait. Which is okay because I'm an hourly employee. Don't tell Tim that. Okay, so there's my...
You got some sports or, movies or something?
Music on. Yeah. I'm a music fanatic. I've got my review mirror so I can see if somebody comes up talking behind me. I use that. Actually, we had somebody come in from our sister company and ask, why do you have a mirror there? It's like, it's my rear view mirror. I can see who's behind me.
Who's sneaking up on me?
I know, I need to minimize something real quick. No, not really. So, okay, here would be our 2-inch blue conduit, and what I'll do to show you some of the inner ducts is I'll just build one. That'll be, let's say that's a 200 foot. We'll have 3 foot of inner duct hanging out of either end of there.
Sure.
So in this you'll see again is a workaround for inner ducts, and I guess I could have tried to link to an existing line there, but again that might break the functionality of having those 2 froms automatically built in. So that might be a trade-off if I want to link to an existing line.
For the ducting, does it matter the 2 from? I guess if you want to, do you trace the ducting out or something?
Not currently, but I think it's really nice because if you're in here working with just data, nothing visual, it's really nice to be able to look and see, okay, if you pull up if you see a stray conduit record hanging out somewhere, you don't know where the heck it goes, that's really handy. So you can jump in here and look and say, oh, it's from junction 1 to junction 1, 2, yep. Wire center, narrows it down the area, so we know within this area, and then we have the junction names, which is like, it should be, bam, right there. Gotcha. If we have a stray record hanging out, we can actually just draw it in where it is. You know? Gotcha. So that is very handy. Here, because we have an existing conduit record with an existing conduit ID associated, I can't do my polyline edit, join, break, delete that little section because it will overwrite our existing record. So what I would do then is wait for AutoCAD to catch up to me. Is note the conduit ID. Did I lose my properties here? Okay, so 125370. And then I would do, I do believe it's, let's see, link, or is it connect? Let me try connect here.
By the way, if you click break, that just in the database, and the line on the map, it just no longer, or whatever the object on the map.
I haven't used that tool.
Okay.
And that may just delete the database record again and leave the line work on the map. And maybe it leaves the record in the database, which isn't a good way of doing it. In all honesty, there's not really much of a need for us to delete records out of our database. Even stuff that we take out, we leave the record there, we'll just put that it's been abandoned under this work order. We'll put it on an XX facilities, an XX copper, or XX conduit or whatever. So if wherever we do USA locates, we can turn those layers on so our locator goes out in the field and says, oh, I picked up this cable right here. What is it? He can look at the maps and say, oh, it's an abandoned 200 pair. Go ahead and plow that over. Who cares? Clean up the mess when you're done. Not necessarily, but, Yeah,
I get it.
For record of what's buried, because we're not going to go out there and rip our cable up. Anything that we leave physically out in the field, it's good to have.
It stays on the map somehow.
So, connect, what connect does, and down here it tells me, it says select junction. So that's their way of building in the 2 froms automatically, or manually. So if I had an existing record here and I didn't have that 2 from associated, I could do connect and it would say select junction, pick a junction, select route, junction, route, and you can actually build the 2 froms in all the way through, which is kind of nice. But, if you guys had the functionality there to where, the line is from this point to that point, the CO is on this end, it's going to be coming from the central office to the next junction. And that could be an automated thing, in my opinion, through programming on your guys' end. So what I would do now, just because I need to link this conduit to this other conduit.
And why are you doing that? Because it's a...
Because it's an inner duct. And we need to know that inner duct is in this piece of conduit. So, because we may have 2-inch conduits and an 1.25-inch conduit, and that microduct is in one of those 2-inch conduits, not split between the two. It's in a single one. We know 1 2-inch is vacant. and the other one has the microducts in it. And then it gets down even farther, so we can have a conduit inside of a conduit. So a microduct in a conduit, and then we can have the fiber within the microduct. So there's a lot of association on the database end that's hard to graphically represent on here. So what we've chosen to do, instead of having parallel and conduit lines, one for microduct, one for conduit, the outer duct, we've
just not to clutter up the map.
We've chosen to link all of those conduit records to a single line. And it sucks from the standpoint of it's not easy just to pick the line and see what it is because of the tools that we have here. But it's handy from the standpoint of visual cleanliness. Because otherwise, if you have 3 2-inch conduits and then 3 microducts in each of those, you don't want to have
9 lines, 12
exactly
lines.
And because if you do, our typical line work is 1 foot offset. You don't want 9 feet of cable going across the property line. It's not what it looks like in reality. I mean, and this was talked about in the past, as we were thinking about doing a trench line and associating everything to that trench, because that's more true to what it is. So I can stop rambling on about that.
No, I get it though.
And I read myself up talking here. 125369. I'll write that down just because. 125369. That's a microduct. Or no, that's actually the 2-inch. The microduct is 125370. So what I'll do here then is I will do, so select the line I want to link to, and then wait 5 minutes. That link apparently doesn't matter, you have to select it again. So I want to link by feature ID of ID. The value will be 125370. So this is just a SQL statement that they built into theirs for the tool. So you have to build this to say, what do you want to try to find? Then you find it.
And then you goes wait. And waits.
And then you wait a little bit. For our database or for their tools, I couldn't tell you which one we're waiting for. Either that or what it likes to do is hide it somewhere in the background, and it'll just be a random. There it is. See, I've waited for that before and realized it was sitting underneath the AutoCAD. So 125370. This is our microduct line. So you would then highlight that line and hit OK. Now using the link manager. Why is that? Little AutoCAD bugs.
Okay.
Okay. So now when I go in here, there's 2 separate conduit IDs. Again, the cumbersome part of this is, what is that? 125369 does me no good for a quick reference. I'd literally need to go look it up in Oasis. But because this is kind of a small thing we're working on, it's not that big of a deal. So now we have our conduits there. 2 records linked to a single line, but those 2 are not actually associated on the database end. Visually, they're in place where they need to be. Database-wise, we have no idea that that's a microduct. So what we would do is edit conduit, and I do believe it lets you edit both of them. Yeah, this is another way, I guess, of viewing what's associated to a particular line that provides more information. So I guess that's kind of one way, and this is me just clicking as I'm doing this. So I know, let's see, our 2-inch is going to contain our microducts. So we have a 2-inch related conduit, and this will be test 125370, and hopefully that will stick. See, something's broken there.
Go ahead and click on the X record.
Okay, so it wants an ID, not the name of
gotcha.
it. So. Okay, now we should 125. So we'll look up our conduit table. So 369 should.
Still doesn't come in on the grid.
Unless I get it the other way around here. Okay, see, and that's something that's painful there. It's because I linked it one way and not the other. Now it thinks a 2-inch is a microduct and the 1.25 inch.
Yeah, because they're both called conduits.
And that's something that's, if I were a little more in practice, I would have known, okay, link the microduct to the outer duct.
Sure. But they're both called the same thing, or they're both the same data entities.
Yes.
So it's hard to determine which one you're kind of...
That would be something handy on your guys' tools if you had something like that to just flip what's related.
Well, what I'm thinking is it would be more like a cable and a cable pair. Okay, so a microduct would behave more like a cable pair instead of a cable.
Okay,
rather than...
That would make sense.
Rather than being a conduit inside of a conduit. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. So what I'm going to try to do here, 1, 2, 5, 3, 7, 0. Apparently that's stuck. I might not like this here.
Do you ever go... Let me just ask you this, though. Do you ever go deeper in a conduit than a
microduct?
Yeah.
Our route record, yes.
Well, you put a route inside of the microduct or inside a conduit.
There's a very good possibility that we'll have a 4-inch conduit with a 2-inch conduit in it and microducts within there. Yeah, so in all honesty, the sky's the limit as far as that goes. And it's pretty rare. There's not too many real... That's a true conduit structure, a municipally placed, city conduit structure, essentially, whereas... Most of our coverage area is rural, and we'll just have direct buried 2-inch conduit and microducts in there. But there are places we have 4-inch conduit going from vault to vault with 2-inch and microducts within the 2-inch. So yes, that does happen.
Okay.
That's being rather painful to switch for some reason here. It doesn't want to easily allow me to fix that. I'm going to try to do it real quick in their tools.
So that one, but you have to put the other ID inside of that one. Control 0.
Control 0?
Yeah.
For what?
That puts a null in that field.
Okay. Not in their tools. Maybe, maybe not. Nope. So that's a problem. In their tools right there, because I have no way of unassociating that. 125370. Not within AutoCAD. And here I can unlink, which actually that's not the right record. I need to be in this. Is just a painful process here. And again, it's not usually that bad if I was...
Yeah, once you get the hang of it, I understand. You're getting a little out of practice.
I haven't done this in a long time. So 125370 has this record associated to it. So we should be able to unlink 125369, but that's not showing up there. So let me go the other way with it. So, and then we'll unlink there. Now this one has it in there, so I can unlink that. Commit.
Okay. Now do it the other way around, right?
So now it should be this 370 that's linked to it. Oops. Okay. And link. Hopefully I'm not building this in backwards again. No, okay. So now we have our 125369. This is 2-inch conduit, and we have our inner duct here, UD by 0.05, because we don't have 10/12 mil as an option in there for the siding, but we know it's 1/2 inch. So that shows our duct structure there. I will build a route record for the fiber optic. So we'll say it's a UO72. Obviously no gauge for fiber. Test work order, status existing, dead dark 1 through 72, caps locks on, bad practice. So it's 260 feet. Wall to wall was 200, 2014. And
now, what is this that you're putting in the values for?
We have the overall span, which would include any slack in the manhole. A wall-to-wall footage, so edge of manhole to edge of manhole. And then the rest is typical stuff here. We're excluding the gauge, which is a copper field, but we're using the route table for both conduit, or for both copper and fiber optic. So we just disregard that.
So UO is underground optical or something?
Yes. Okay. So we'll go ahead and do a create here. And again, it gives you the error, but it doesn't know what kind of line or what layer to put this on, because it obviously doesn't know what a UO is. But it's the same exact functionality there with selecting one junction, selecting the next junction. Because I have this nice little line working here, I'll do a polyline edit, join, break. Because I had that other end on there, I need to break it twice, which is why I typically like to move one end first, but that's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Fiber. So there's our fiber. Now what we would do here...
Gotta link the fiber into the conduit.
So we'll do a route, edit, related conduit, 125370 is our microduct. And then now we should be able to... There you go. So here's our route record that's within this microduct. So it's a UD or a UO 72 dead dark 1 through 72.
Okay.
So that's it. That's our example of a conduit and a conduit with a route record within the conduit. That's pretty much the bulk of it. In all honesty, I can do like a miscellaneous facilities for you.
Yeah, let's do the miscellaneous facilities.
Which of course I don't have that done.
How often do you do miscellaneous facilities?
It's very common.
Okay.
Because that's anything from our BM2s, which are the grounding rods, to BM53s, which are our warning signs. They're all over the place out there. So we'll just do a ground for this right here, and this will be, let's see, we don't necessarily need to name those though. This will be a BM2. Where are we at here? Why am I in the junction? That would be why it's not in there. BM2, 2014, you'll say that's the test work order, it's existing. This is a test wire center.
And these miscellaneous facilities, do they get associated to a junction, or could you put them anywhere? Or
we associate those to junctions, and let me actually... I think they can be associated to other miscellaneous facilities as well, and I can give you an example of that. They can be associated to routes, apparently, because we have a route field there.
Okay.
I can kind of poke around through there and see. But we'll do a related junction for this because it's the BM2, the grounding rod, at 115474. Hopefully I'm not overloading you with footage here.
Nope.
So we'll select our BM2 block, select our insertion point. Now, that was placed manually on the grip of the junction, although I still had to... I had to put the related junction in there. That doesn't automatically associate that to a junction, which I suppose is a good thing, because if we have miscellaneous facilities associated to miscellaneous facilities, we wouldn't want it to automatically associate to a nearby junction. I think an example of a miscellaneous facilities being associated miscellaneous facility would be our pole information for aerial. Because we'll have a pole there with cable attached to it. If the cable is just attached to it, there's no actual splicing going on. There's no need for it to be a junction record. And this was a fairly recent change that we did, and we changed all of our poles over to miscellaneous facilities. Well, we also have the down guys for it, which are miscellaneous facilities. So that's where we'd have those associated. Our junction record would be an aerial terminal in that case. And that would be, we could place those at the pole where there is an aerial terminal, but say it spans 6 or 7 poles without there being another one. We wouldn't want to have it broken every single time, because it's not. It goes straight through. So we tried to change those to make those true to what it is in the field as far as where the splice
makes total sense.
So that's pretty much it for miscellaneous facilities. They're
where do they get stored in the database? Or
they're in the misfacilities table.
Okay, so you have a same like on that screen in the background. You can pull it up.
Yes, there's the core ones we use in GIS are conduit. Let's see, we do. I don't know if we use the driveways ones or not. I think that's actually roads, or we might use the driveways as well, but driveways and roads are kind of hand in hand there. Facility, and I need to go over that with you as well, the pick pair records. And junction, miscellaneous facilities, again, roads.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's an associated work order that we need to have in the database to associate all these records to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it for the bulk of the graphical stuff we do within AutoCAD.
Okay.
And I can kind of get in right now to some of the pick pair stuff here. So I think we pretty well cover a lot of the graphical portion of it. What I'll do is I'll pick this record here, 167930, which is a route record.
Mm-hmm.
And I can verify that this is what we want here. And we'll get in here to our facility builder. And wait, there it is. Okay, so this actually is the logical portion of our pick pair associations. I mean, we can go back and obviously show this is going to 167930, which says test.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is as if we're sitting on junction 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the cable coming into that junction. This is the cable going out of that junction.
Okay.
There's nothing here, so we need to create facilities. Low count and 100 pair cable. Status.
Is this coming from AutoCAD?
It does grab, not necessarily from any AutoCAD data, but it's referencing our database record 167930.
Mm-hmm.
So it's looking at the same underlying route record.
But
it's database driven.
Could you do this just within AutoCAD without ever opening up this
No.
Geo?
This is strictly within Oasis tools.
Okay, so I mean, if you close down this that you have on the right,
I can't access this.
Okay.
So
you drug this little guy over here.
Yeah, and that's, I think it defaults to that screen, or I drug it over there because I don't know why.
Okay.
So
just wanted to verify.
That's okay. This toolbar right here is the only functionality we get out of AutoCAD, which is pretty much mostly the graphical representation of it, not the logical pick pair associations and scotch locks and stuff like that. We don't show graphically.
Mm-hmm.
Some of this stuff could be auto-gen. And that's something we can kind of talk to Tim about and see if that's something we want to do. This will be we'll say this is our MDF record. So the MDF, I don't know if you guys know.
Main distribution frame.
Okay, see, I don't know where your guys' record or your background is. I don't know. So we'll say that's our MDF coming from the central office to that, which would in reality be our cross-connect, which I'm not showing because this is an example. But the cross-connect would just be a different Miss Facilities on there. Would be a BDS symbol here. And then there's kind of some tricky stuff that we do to show a jumper. We put a fictitious 3-foot route record in there, and that's how we can essentially build our cross connects in there. Yeah. So, but I'll show you this just for the sake of showing how the links work on here. So it's a 1 through 100 vacant. We'll say this is MDF, a wire center of test, which is consistent with our existing stuff. 2, I think you have to go out and then back in order to get that there.
So there's our cable pairs.
So now I need to actually go to the next page and build. So that built this highlighted one right here. I need to actually build the next one in too. This will be, let's show that it's just vacant, and this will be a pick record now of test. Okay. Okay, so now if I go back and sit at 1-1, here is all of our breakdowns of what's what. So we can say, for instance, that we have this wouldn't be the case obviously because that's an MDF, but say this was out farther in the field, we'd have a preferred count. You'd have 5 pairs dropping off here because there are 1 or 2 customers that are served from that. We would then take, on this end of it, we would take 1 through 95 and highlight 1 through 95 and link these up here, and then this will populate maybe okay, there it goes. So this actually shows that it's connected. This shows you the route name on this end, the route name on that end, The count is the pick, so we know we're 1-to-1 here. If we've got some cable tramping or something stupid, which don't get me started on that stuff, we're generally 1-to-1. Of course, if we have a 25 pair hanging off, it may be hanging off a pick 26 through.
Yeah, sure.
On this, so that's pretty straightforward. That's telco stuff. And then for any of our preferred stuff, we highlight those existing ones, and we just create an in-connection record. So that just... it shows that it's there as a preferred count, but it doesn't have any record leaving it.
Yep.
So later on, we can, if we wanted to go so far as to associate a particular pick to the customer's drop, we can do that. And even go so far as to take that to their NID on the side of their house.
Okay.
Our records are not that finite at this point, although it wouldn't hurt to have that in there at some point in time.
Sure.
When our records are clean enough and we have that established. So that's our pick pair stuff, and that again just gets built all the way out, and it's kind of tricky. You have to do some visualization of. It's nice to have the drawing open in schematic format as you're doing that.
Yeah, because then you kind of know where you're at.
Otherwise, sitting there and you're just like it's mentally picturing. You're just looking at a bunch of numbers and building a tree structure in your head of what's going where. So that's our pick pair stuff. I think that really is the bulk of our posting right there.
Okay, cool.
As to where we're at now. So, I'm trying to think of anything else here. I think that's it. We can check with Tim real quick and see if there's anything else he wants me to cover. But that's pretty much.
That should do it, I think.
Okay.